Okay, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is the 1951 historical career that I've been running in Pro Strategy Football 2026 for quite a while now. I just finished up the 1977 season and am ready to begin the 1978 season. Before I do that, I want to do a quick little rundown of what happened in 77. As you can see, the Cowboys beat the Broncos 28-10, almost identical to the score that they beat the Broncos by in real life, which is kind of amazing. This game didn't really go exactly the way it did in real life, but the final score was very close, and it was certainly a convincing win for Dallas, beating Denver in that game. Second year in a row, we had the exact same teams that, again, played in real life. Oakland beating Minnesota in Super Bowl 11. So on a little bit of an accuracy streak here, which is pretty cool. So going back to the previous season, let's take a look at this game real quick. Staubach, who had a really bad postseason, actually, overall, but came through in the Super Bowl. He did have couple of interceptions early on that didn't look good, but in fact, the first one led to the Broncos taking an early 3-0 lead, but the Cowboys immediately came right back down the field, mostly on the strength of the running game, and converted that for a touchdown, and then just never looked back, really. If you look at the box score, you can see they were up 21-3 at halftime. Broncos closed it to an 11-point deficit in the third quarter, and then the Cowboys put things away in the final quarter there, 28-10. That was their, let's see, for the Cowboys, that was their third Super Bowl victory, so they're the first team in the Super Bowl era to get 3 wins. You can see there's the conference title games. The NFC, actually both conferences really fielded mostly the same teams that appeared in the playoffs back in real 1977. The only difference was in the AFC, you had the Dolphins getting in as opposed to the Raiders. I was kind of disappointed the Raiders didn't play as a little bit better. I would have liked to have seen the Raiders compete with Denver for the AFC title. Instead, really, the power there was Baltimore. Baltimore was, they were actually the top seed. And one of the few times I can recall in this simulation where the top seed was beaten at home in either the divisional round or the conference title game, which is what occurred here, losing to Denver. The Broncos, as they did in real life, were really powered mostly by their defense, although Craig Morton was very efficient, one of the top players for the entire season at quarterback. So again, that was 1977. Trying to think if there's anything else we wanted to add here. Again, nothing too surprising overall. You see the Eagles finished just over 500. The Bears beat out the Vikings. They were much stronger in this simulation than in real life. Obviously, Walter Payton was the key player there for the Bears. The Rams really struggled to beat out the Falcons in the West. Rams certainly underperformed a bit. The Falcons were good as expected because of their defense, really only because of their defense. Not much strength there in their offense. Looking at the AFC, you had the Colts and the Miami Dolphins there. The Patriots were probably the biggest disappointment, finishing only 5-9. In the Central, you had the Steelers winning, unsurprisingly, in a game over Houston. And in the West, you had the Raiders again just coming up short. San Diego was the surprise there. The Chargers were competitive all year, and right up until the final week of the season, they were looked like they were a lock for a playoff berth, but they lost their last 2 games, as you can see there. Obviously, two great teams there, the Broncos and the Steelers, so no shame in that, but they had it going there. They had a 8-game winning streak that started in week 5 and went all the way till week 12. So again, they were the surprise there in the West. James Harris taken over the starting quarterback job from Dan Fouts, at least for this season, and performed very well. Excuse me. Apologize for my voice, as I usually have to do. Sorry for the clearing of the throat and the hoarseness, just getting over a cold. All right, so that's 1977. So I went ahead and already started the 78 season. And so the first thing I like to do here is let's go ahead and take a look at the transactions and see what were the key movements of players from one team to another. Looks like the Colts brought in quite a few players in 78, coming off the season in 77 where they lost the AFC title game. You can recall in real life the Baltimore Colts ran into a wall in 78 that started in the preseason. They traded away Lydell Mitchell, and I can't remember what the exact circumstances were behind that, but I remember as a kid thinking, what are they thinking? But I think it was more might have been Mitchell's call to do that, and he went to San Diego. They did replace him with Joe Washington, who was a great player during that era for both the Colts and later the Redskins. So they brought him in from the Chargers. I think that was an even trade, if I'm not mistaken. And the biggest hit for them was Burt Jones. They lost Burt Jones in the preseason. I can't remember if I set this up so that he's on the roster or not. Maybe with a very low endurance rating. Could be. I don't know. I have to check and see. But that's the big thing with the Colts here. They're probably going to take a big downturn here in 78 as they did in real life. But you can see they took on some talent. Dwight Harrison from the Bills. They took in Mike Siani from the Raiders. So that was the Colts. Moving on to the Bills. Let's see, any big names sticking out there? A lot of familiar names, but nothing that's too impactful. The Bears got Golden Richards from the Cowboys, along with Tommy Hart from the 49ers, and Alan Page, the veteran from the Vikings. So the Bears certainly bringing on some veteran talent there. Calvin Hill comes over from the Redskins to the Browns. Raphael Septien, kicker from the Rams, goes to Dallas. Dallas also signs veteran tight end Jackie Smith from the Cardinals. What could go wrong? Sorry, Jackie Smith. I'm sure it'll be fine. Let's see, what else? The Broncos get Bernard Jackson. Let's see. Moving on to the Lions, they bring in Dave Purifoy from the Green Bay Packers. Freddie Scott, wideout from the Colts. The Packers bring over former Bear Bobby Douglas from the Saints. Let's see what else. The Oilers get Rich Castor from the Jets. Let's see. The Chiefs bring over Walter's brother Eddie Payton as their kick returner. The big names here. Delvin Williams, this is a big one. Delvin Williams comes over from San Francisco to Miami. I believe that was a trade that involved Freddie Solomon, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong, but I think it was Freddie Solomon who the Dolphins traded for Delvin Williams. Pretty good trade. Freddie Solomon was a solid receiver and would go on to have some really good years with the 49ers. Ricky Young goes from San Diego to the Vikings. Let's see. There was a big one there. Harold Jackson from the Rams over to the Patriots. I remember that. A lot of new faces in New Orleans, as you can see there. Let's see. The Giants, Raiders, they get Monty Jackson from the Rams, along with Raymond Chester from the Colts. Let's see what else we got here. There's the Lydell Mitchell move from Baltimore to San Diego. Chargers also got Ed White, offensive lineman for the Vikings. Quite a few players there. Wilbur Young, pass rusher for the Chiefs. Glenn Edwards, star defensive back for the Steelers. The 49ers. There's the Freddie Solomon move from Miami. And there's O.J. Simpson moving over from Buffalo. So his career starting to take a southward move. Gets a lot worse for O.J. from there, trust me. Efren Herrera signs with Seattle. Let's see. Bill Gregory comes over from Dallas to Seattle. Willard Harrell with the Cardinals now from Green Bay. Let's see. Kick returner as well. Oops, sorry. Jim Obradovich. No relation to Ed Obradovich. I always thought they were father and son or brother or nephew or something, but they're not related. Wally Chambers goes over from Chicago to Tampa Bay. Let's see what else. Jimmy Giles, tight end from Houston to Tampa Bay. Boy Bacon, that's a big one. At age 36 from Cincinnati to the Redskins. He still has a couple of good years in him. Lamar Parrish from Cincinnati as well. They got a lot of players from Cincinnati. I don't know if that was just a big trade or what that was, but they got John McDaniel, Boy Bacon, and Lamar Parrish, all from the Bengals. All three pretty good, solid players. They got Ike Forte from the Patriots. All right, so let's move on to the draft. And I think I was able to get most of these correct this time before I transferred or pulled in the new season. So most of these should reflect accurately. We've got the number 1 pick overall, which is Earl Campbell. It's showing the number 10th or the 10th round, number 1 overall. I don't know why it's showing that, but it's also the Oilers getting Johnny Durden. But the number 2 pick was Art Still, going to the Chiefs. Wes Chandler, number 3, goes to the Saints. Chris Ward for the Jets. Terry Miller, Buffalo. James Lofton, drafted by the Packers. And, we go down the list here. Ken McAfee, Ross Browner, Keith Simpson, Luther Bradley, Clay Matthews. There's John Jefferson going to the Chargers, 14th overall. Doug Williams going to the Buccaneers. Ozzie Newsome, that's a big one. Picked up by the Browns in the 23rd with the 23rd pick. Let's see what else. Bubba Baker. He goes in the 2nd round to Detroit. Recall he had a pretty big rookie season there. Bubba Baker, that's Al Baker. Let's see who else stands out here. Again, a lot of familiar names, not necessarily big names. I'm not seeing too many big Hall of Famers now in these later rounds. Future Hall of Famers, I should say. Okay, we're now in the 4th round. Mike Renfro goes to the Oilers. Let's see. Now we're in the 6th round. Alfred Jackson goes to Atlanta. Arthur Whittington to the Raiders. There's Mosey Tutupu. He's a fullback, actually, but I think the first season I got him on the depth chart as a tight end just to get him on the team. Okay. That's it. That's everyone. Okay, so that's the draft. So now we move on to the undrafted free agents. See if there's any big names that stand out there. Paul Kaufman going to Green Bay. Some of these surprised me in terms of them not being drafted. I didn't know some of these were free agents. Some of them I did know. I mean, I knew Guido Merkins was a free agent. There's some others here too, but I thought Paul Kaufman was drafted. Preston Denard surprised me a little bit. What else here? And again, assuming all these are correct. Not always perfect. Okay, well, that's everybody. All right, so those are all the off-season moves that took place. So let's take a look at 1978. This will be the first season where we're going to play 16 games, and the playoff format has been expanded to one additional wildcard team. Same divisional lineups as 77 as far as I can see here. You got the East, the Central, West. See if there's any changes. Jets look a little bit different now. They have a green helmet instead of a white helmet. It's new. Anything else different? Nope. Everything else the same. Nobody moved to a different city as far as I can see. At least not yet. All right, let's take a look at week number 1. And let's see if there's any big matchups here. Week 1. Baltimore, Dallas. Now, see, I remember that being the Monday night game, and I remember thinking, wow, that's going to be a heck of a matchup. And again, that was before the preseason occurred. And then, again, the Colts lost Burt Jones. They lost Vidal Mitchell to the trade. And going into that game, the Cowboys were heavy favorites, and it showed. There's another one that was a big opening day game, Oakland and Denver. Let's see what else here. I remember the Jets upsetting Miami. I remember that. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and simulate week 1. And let's reveal the results, see how we look for the first week of the season. So, wow. Look at this one. Atlanta with an overtime win over Houston, a shootout in Atlanta. They win 37-31. Let's take a look at stats of that game. 451 yards to 334. Now, again, remember, Atlanta had a heck of a defense in 77. They still had a pretty good defense in 78. It was still mostly the same personnel. But the difference was their offense started to kick into gear. So Atlanta ends up in the playoffs in real life in 78. So let's see how they do this year, but they're off to a good start. And here we go in overtime. This is what happened. Tied at 31. Looked like the Falcons came back, tied it with a field goal. Make it 31-31 in overtime. See, Houston fumbles the ball. Atlanta recovers. And they convert that into a score. E. Patton, sure 49er, scores. And that's how they win the game. So there you go. All right, so Atlanta wins that, 37-31. Pittsburgh defeats Buffalo, 13-9, a lot closer than what one would expect. The Bears get an opening day win over the Cardinals, 24-3. Cincinnati over Kansas City, 33-20. Cleveland upends the 49ers by a couple. There you go. Dallas wins big over Baltimore, 31-3. As was expected. Here was a good game. Oakland beating defending AFC champion Denver, 34-27. Let's take a look at this. Looks like Stabler was the player of the game. Let's see what happened here. Raiders scored first. Broncos tied it. Raiders took the lead again on a punt return. Arthur Whittington, he's a rookie. Game went sort of back and forth. Some lead changes. We get into the fourth quarter. Raiders took a commanding lead, 27-17. Broncos started to come back, and then they the Raiders pulled away here with a Banaszak touchdown run. Let's take a look at that. This was the game winner. Right up the middle. So Oakland wins that game 34-27. Detroit wins their opener. New England wins their opener over Washington. The Saints upset the Vikings 38-7. Wow. Okay, let's take a look at that. 421 yards to 253 in total offense. Just one turnover for the Vikings. They just got outplayed. Wow. Archie Manning, player of the game there. Miami, wow, it's a thrilling week one. Some close games. Look at this, 37-35. The Dolphins defeat the Jets. Bob Greasy getting player of the game with almost 300 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Let's see how this one ended up. Looks like the Jets were ahead going into the fourth quarter. Miami then kicked a couple of field goals, and then with only 37 seconds to go, 42 seconds to go, the Jets score what looks like the game-winning touchdown. But with 9 seconds to go, so this is kind of a Hail Mary situation here. Greasy goes to the end zone, and down there to pull it in was Daryl Harris, not known as a tall receiver, so that would have been unlikely. I think in real life, if that would have happened, that would have probably been off of a deflection. But nevertheless, the Jets win that game. The Dolphins win that game 37-35. Great game. Philadelphia upsets the Rams 20-19. Let's take a look at that one. Ron Jaworski, 3 touchdown passes. And looks like they opened up a pretty big lead in this game. They were up 20-5 in the fourth quarter. Here's the final score by the Eagles to put them up pretty convincingly here in this ball game. And then the Rams would start to come back, but too little, too late. They come up just a point shy. Lost the onside kick attempt here in the last minute and come up short 20-19. So big win there for Philadelphia. San Diego comes out 31-7 over Seattle. The MVP was Lydell Mitchell, newly with the Chargers. See what he did. 15 rushes, 98 yards, 4 catches for 35. So a nice debut for him in a Charger uniform. And then Tampa Bay defeats the Giants 28-17. So Tampa Bay's, they're getting better and better. And they open up with a win themselves. So let's go to week number 2. See what matchups we have there. Now, I remember this was the Monday night game, Denver at Minnesota. And I remember this one, Oakland at San Diego. That was the Holy Roller. That was the game that I remember watching that game. Chargers were up 20-7. Looked like they were going to pull off the upset, but then the Raiders came back, scored a touchdown. They were down 20-14. Then we're driving down the field in the final minute. And then on the final play of the game is when Stabler was back to throw. As he's rolling to his right, he gets hit. He loses the ball. The ball fumbles forward, gets kicked around a few times, ends up in the end zone, and Dave Casper's there to fall on it. Kind of a fluky way to win, but they won nonetheless, and that was forever known as the Holy Roller. So we're going to go ahead and replay that game here. Simulate. And see what happened. All right, so this is an upset. Baltimore 34-7. I say an upset because, again, knowing how the way this season ended up in real life, in retrospect, that would be considered an upset. At the time, who knows? The Colts, again, were still defending AFC champions, even though they didn't have Burt Jones. In fact, let's see. Do I have Burt Jones in this game? I don't. So yeah, so he's not in the starting lineup. He is definitely hurt. So the Colts win that game 34-7. Jets defeat Buffalo. Browns go to 2-0. They defeat Bengals. Look at this. The Saints in overtime defeating the Packers 9-3. Let's take a look at that winning touchdown. Tony Galbraith, 15-yard touchdown run in overtime. And there you go. So the Saints are 2-0. Chiefs defeat the Oilers. The Oilers are 0-2 in 78. Remember that. They have Earl Campbell now. They're not off to a good start. The Rams defeat Atlanta 20-0. The Vikings jump back, and after losing their opener to the Saints, they beat the Broncos. The Broncos are now 0-2. They win 19-14. Let's take a look at this. Okay. They took a 16-14 lead in the third. Parkington to Sammy White. That ends up being the winning score. They would add on a field goal in the fourth quarter, and then looks like Morton threw a couple of picks. Dallas defeats the Giants. So the defending Super Bowl champions are 2-0. The Steelers win big over Seattle, 38-7. And look, there you go. So unlike in real life, the Chargers held on. They were up 20-14 in real life. Here they're up 19-14, and they end up winning. Let's take a look at how this game played out. Let's see. It looked like they blocked a punt, they blocked a punt here. Bob Horn scores that touchdown for the Chargers. Raiders had a fumble return touchdown of themselves that cut it to 16-14. Benershka made it 19-14 in the fourth, and here was, in the final 2 minutes, the Raiders coming down the field. No holy roller this time, as Stabler's pass is intercepted by Mike Fuller. So the Chargers come up with a victory there. Niners defeat the Bears. Cardinals defeat the Patriots. Tampa Bay keeps rolling. They're 2-0. Eagles are 2-0. They defeat the Redskins, who are now 0-2. So let's go to week number 3. Let's see who we've got here. We've got San Diego at Denver. Dallas at Los Angeles. Now I remember this game was I remember that game. I remember watching that game. I remember the Rams winning that game pretty convincingly. And some sideline chatter between the two teams, and a vow on the part of some Cowboys that they would see them again in the playoffs, and they indeed they did, with a much different result. So that's interesting. All right, let's see what happens in week number 3. Here we go. Atlanta jumps back into the win column. They defeat Cleveland 24-17. Pittsburgh loses their first game to their rivals, the Bengals, 17-13. That's an upset. Take a look at what happened here. Like the Steelers are down 17-6. Started to come back, and Bradshaw gets picked off. That was with 2:23 to go. Now the Bengals would throw an interception as well. Lauren Taves intercepts John Reeves. Like Anderson might have gotten hurt. Not sure what happened after that. You can look at the play-by-play at the fourth quarter and see what might have happened after that interception was made. It looks like the Steelers started to move the ball down. They got down the field. They were at the Bengals 14-yard line. They were on their 12. Oh, they had a 4th and 3. 4th and 3, and Bradshaw threw a pass to this one for 2 yards. Oh, boy. I do see that a lot in this game where the quarterbacks will throw. I mean, you see that in real life, too, which frustrates the heck out of me when you see teams do that. But, it'll be 3rd and 5, and they'll throw a 3-yard pass, or it's 3rd and 10, they'll throw an 8-yard pass, that kind of thing. Well, there you go. Let's see. Denver gets in the win column. They defeat San Diego 24-23. So that's a big one. Let's take a look there. How was that win? Looks like they had a 24-13 lead at some point. Here was that score. Like Morton to Dolbin. The Bears are 2-1. They defeat the Lions. Raiders win 13-10 over Green Bay. The Niners defeat the Oilers, now 0-3. That's crazy. It's crazy. So it's like the Oilers may be the underachievers of 1978. The Cowboys defeat the Rams in overtime 10-7. That did not match real life. Let's see. In overtime, Raphael Septien, the former Ram, gets back again, gets revenge against his former team, I guess. I don't know if you call it revenge. Gets back at his former team, winning the game for Dallas with that overtime field goal. Let's see. Miami defeats Buffalo. Tampa Bay defeats Minnesota. That's crazy. Okay. 26-24. The Buccaneers are now 3-0. Here's the winning touchdown. The rookie quarterback, Doug Williams. So Tampa Bay, who really kind of surprised everyone in 79, if you can recall, it might be a year early. In 78, they are 3-0. We'll see how the rest of the season goes, but they're off to a great start. Okay, New England defeats Baltimore. The Saints win again in overtime this time against Philadelphia. Have a key matchup here. Again, Tony Galbraith for the second time wins a game in overtime. Once again on a run. Up the middle. So New Orleans defeats Philadelphia. The Jets defeat Seattle. Giants over the Chiefs. And the Redskins are 0-3. There's another shocker. Not doing well. All right, let's go to week number 4. Let's take a look real quick at the standings. Dallas is 3-0 in the East. Tampa Bay, I mentioned, big surprise there, 3-0. As are the Saints at 3-0. They're a season early in terms of looking really good. There you got a 3-way tie in the AFC East, as well as the AFC Central. And a 2-way tie in the West with San Diego and Oakland. All right, let's go to week number 4. See who we have here. St. Louis and Dallas. Rams and Oilers. I remember that game. That was a breakout game for Earl Campbell. Let's see if the Oilers can get back to winning. They haven't won anything yet. All right. Bills win their first game over Baltimore. Bears defeat the Vikings. The Vikings are now 1-3. Cincinnati wins. The Cardinals upset Dallas. So Dallas loses their first game. The Cardinals are now 3-1. Let's see what happened here. And they win it. See, they had a fumble return. Pitch out the Laidlaw, picked up by Pollard. Cardinals take the lead there. Dallas would tie it on a touchdown pass from Staubach to Drew Pearson, late in the game. But then this happens. 13 seconds to go in the game. Hart with a desperation pass, kind of a Hail Mary, if you will, but it's caught, and he doesn't go to the end zone. He gets knocked out of bounds, but there's 4 seconds to go. Just enough time for Jim Bakken to win the game for St. Louis. So there's an upset, and looks like the Oilers finally get in the win column. Earl Campbell with 125 yards rushing. They defeat the Rams 20-14. The Rams, incidentally, are now 1-3. Neither one of these teams playing well, and both teams are, again, should be contenders. And they're just simply not. So, show you Campbell's touchdown run here. So, see how the rest of the season goes, but both teams struggling. Low scoring game here. Denver 10-3 over Kansas City. Broncos are now 2-2. Giants even their record. Raiders win again over New England. I think that might have been a Monday night game. I can't remember exactly. The Eagles defeat the Dolphins in overtime. A lot of overtime games here. One on touchdown runs. There's another one. Billy Campfield. Up the middle. Wins the game. Philadelphia. All right. Pittsburgh defeats Cleveland 31-7. Chargers over the Packers. Low scoring game there. Packers are 0-4. Detroit barely defeats Seattle, keeping them winless. Tampa Bay wins again. Atlanta loses 27-14 there. Wow. And the Redskins finally win. They defeat the Jets 16-10. All right, we are in week 5 now. We're going to play through week 8. And let's see here what we've got. We've got the Falcons defeating the Giants. We got the Colts defeating the Eagles. That's an upset. Buffalo defeats Kansas City 34-31. A big game in Chicago. One of those games I remember watching on TV. The Raiders defeat the Bears 17-10, so they go to 4-1. Bears drop to 3-2. Browns defeat Houston. Houston is now 1-4. So not looking good for them. Denver wins. Green Bay defeats Detroit. Miami defeats St. Louis. See, New England over San Diego. The Rams defeat Saints 20-17. Pittsburgh just gets by the Jets. Cincinnati in a low-scoring game against San Francisco, 6-3. Tampa Bay loses their first game, so Minnesota gets them 27-26. Let's take a look at that real quick. Fran Tarkenton with 3 touchdown passes, 345 yards. He did have 2 picks, but he overcame those. Let's take a look at this one. So looks like the Bucs were ahead 26-24 late in the game, and the again, another one of those Hail Marys. Seen a lot of these in 78. Successful desperation throws. Here's another one. Out of bounds, I think it's Kevin Miller, 50 yards, and then the next play, Vikings win it. Rick Danmeyer took over in 77 from Fred Cox. Wins the game 27-26. And Dallas shuts out the Redskins. Redskins now 1-4. I think that was the Monday. That was a Monday night game. That was the one that President Carter attended, and I think it was the Redskins won 9-5. I remember that. Not this time. 21-0 in the simulation. The Cowboys win that game. Win it easily. All right, so we're in week number 6. Let's see what we got here. Some big games. Philadelphia, New England. Well, again, Houston, Oakland would have been a big game, but Houston is underperforming. Atlanta, Pittsburgh's a big game. Denver, San Diego. All right, let's take a look and see how these go. All right, Dallas gets their second shutout win in a row. This time over the Giants, 14-0. Redskins, they win. They defeat Detroit as they typically do. This time 21-7. Chicago goes to 4-2. They beat their rivals, the Packers. The Chiefs with a 1-point win over Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay has now lost 2 in a row. Rams even their record at 3-3. Cincinnati defeats Miami 24-21. That's an upset. Cincinnati's 5-1. Haven't really been paying attention to them. They're doing really well. New England is 4-2. They defeat Philadelphia. Here's an overtime game won by the Browns, 24-21 in New Orleans. Jets defeat the Bills. Raiders, not surprisingly, the Oilers, 24-7. Pittsburgh beats Atlanta 21-0, so they're 5-1. Chargers continue to roll. They're 4-2. They defeat the Broncos. I think that's their second win over the Broncos. Seattle gets their first win over Minnesota. And St. Louis defeats the Colts. Colts are now 2-4. Cardinals are 4-2. All right, so we're in week number 7 now. We got 2 weeks to go before we stop and pause. So we've got Pittsburgh at Cleveland in week number 7. New England at Cincinnati is another big one. Chicago, Denver. These are all pretty good matchups. Okay, now let's change the Cardinals into their... Oh, they're already in their white jerseys. Good. I'd like to see the Cardinals white against Dallas. All right, let's simulate that. All right, Atlanta wins. Jets win. Cincinnati goes to 6-1. They did 23-6. Pittsburgh defeats Cleveland. So Cincinnati and Pittsburgh are right now neck and neck in that AFC Central. Broncos go to 4-3. They defeat the Bears. Packers defeat Seattle. Oilers do win here. They defeat Buffalo 17-7. Vikings beat the Rams 17-7. Two teams right now not doing too well, even though they should be. Tampa Bay shuts out the Giants 13-0. I think that's their second win over the Giants. Raiders barely over Kansas City 9-6. Redskins continue to lose. They lose by a point to Philadelphia. Miami upends San Diego 31-27. You got San Francisco over New Orleans. And then you've got the Cowboys with a very, very close win over the Cardinals. Let's take a look at that one. It's like they win. They came back. They were down 14-6 in the fourth quarter. Got Danny White in the game. Place of Roger Staubach. Not sure what's going on there. I haven't been checking the injuries, so let's take a look at that too. Look at that at the end of week 8, in addition to the stats. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this week, and then we'll look at the standings, the stats, the injuries, and see where we're at. All right. Houston, Pittsburgh. That was the Monday night game. One of the games the Steelers lost that year. We're going to replay that. All right. First tie of the season. Denver and Baltimore. Tie at 7. It's exciting. Cincinnati goes to 7-1. They are on a roll. What is going on with the Bengals? Already snowing in Buffalo. Let's look at Ken Anderson's leading the way. Pete Johnson, 119 yards rushing. Isaac Curtis, Offensively, they got guys like Ross Browner, rookie Lewis Breeden. Yeah, okay. Still a few years away from being what they would end up being in the 80s, but they're already playing well here in 78 and making a playoff run. So they win 48-21. Dallas wins again. They're 7-1. Chargers lose to the Lions. Browns lose to the Chiefs. Rams lose to the Saints. Rams are 3-5. Vikings lose again. They're 3-5. Miami gets another close win, this time over New England, 27-24. Cardinals lose to the Jets. Jets are 5-3. Redskins defeat the Giants. Pittsburgh wins that game against Houston, 13-3. They're now 7-1. See, Atlanta loses to San Francisco, so they're 4-4. Seattle defeats the Raiders. I remember, in real life, the Seahawks did defeat the Raiders pretty convincingly, and it was a major upset because the Seahawks, keep in mind, they're only in their third season, and they were actually looking a lot better in 78 than they are here, but here they win just like they do in real life, 23-3, convincing win over the Raiders, who are now 6-2. And the Bucs lose again, this time to the Bears, 17-13. So they're now 5-3. They got off to a great start. They're still looking good, but starting to fall back a little bit. All right. So that's week 8. Let's take a look at the standings. Dallas comfortably ahead of everyone. See how quickly they wrap up that division. Bears and Buccaneers are tied at 5-3. Bears just beat the Bucs. Bears right now looking pretty good. They got a 4-0 divisional record, so they got the tiebreaker. 3-way tie for first in the West. So as bad as it's looked for the Rams, they're only a game out against everyone else. And the Falcons, as much as they seem to be underperforming, they're right there, tied for first place with everybody else. Miami and the Jets are tied in the East. That's surprising. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Again, the Bengals are the surprise there. And then the Raiders right now comfortably ahead. I wouldn't say comfortably. They're a game and a half ahead of Denver in that Western division of the AFC. So pretty good for them. So that's the mid-season snapshot. Let's look at the injuries. Monty Jackson, that's a big one, out 4 weeks. So here's some guys out for the season, including Fran Tarkenton. Well, that explains a lot. That's why they're not doing so well. So I think they probably have Tommy Kramer in there. He's a good backup. So Kramer actually ends up being a really great starter later on. But and I think this is Tarkenton's last season too. So it's pretty much it for him. Lyle Zato out for the year for Denver. That's a big loss. The season leaders in terms of passing, surprisingly, it's Bill Troop. I guess they don't have much of a running game. Bill Troop leading the league in passing yards, anyway. The ratings, you got Staubach and Anderson there, number 1 and number 2. Not surprising there. Mike Livingston's a little surprising, as is Bill Troop being as high as he is. So, not doing too bad, the Colts. Rushing yards, Delvin Williams is leading the league with 784 yards at the halfway point. Mark Van Egan's after him, and then you got the rookie Earl Campbell. So despite the fact that the Oilers are struggling, he's the 3rd leading rusher in the league, although he is only averaging just under 4 yards a carry, a little bit lower than I think he would have expected. Peyton not doing that great either. He's only averaging 3.9 yards. We'll see how the team stats look. Yeah, we're only 3.9. I think the average that year was 4.0, so we're about a 0.1 less of an average than how it looked in real life. Not the end of the world, but just interesting to note that. Steve Largent leading all receivers and receptions. In yards, it's Willie Miller for the Rams, followed by Largent. Defensively, Parsons, the leading tackler. Sack leaders, 3 of them. Randy White, Louis Kelcher, and Harvey Martin. Interceptions, Chuck Christ leads the league there. All right, let's look at week number 9. Any big matchups there? Let's look at the Bengals are going to host Houston. Dallas hosts Minnesota. That was a Thursday night game. I remember that. Chargers face off against the Raiders again. All right, nothing really stands out there, but we'll go ahead and we'll pick one of those games and then feature that for week number 9. So good to be back for 78. We'll pick this up in our next video, and it will not include my voice, thankfully. But thanks again for joining and any feedback is always appreciated, as long as it's constructive. Thanks.